tonight? Good? Yeah. Sorry for the technical error, but it's okay. So, thank you very much to Germs and Jessica especially for inviting me to come today. And thank you all for being in my company. It's a real delight to share with you some of my knowledge in the area of resume writing. I suppose resumes is my passion because I love to see people go from being in university to employment, or from becoming a mature age student to going into employment as well. So I guess to be a good resume writer, it takes a lot of skill and a lot of understanding of employers along with employees as well. So tonight, what my goal is to give you a rundown on 4 key areas. So obviously resume writing tips, job searching strategies, because often when people are looking for jobs, they go straight to Seek and they assume, I'm going to get a job straight away. But the truth is, Seek is only one avenue of many to find good jobs. Also, finding unadvertised jobs is really a good skill to learn, particularly if you're a graduate, because as you all know, once you graduate from university, you are competing against thousands of university graduates across Australia. So you've got to find a way to stand out from the crowd. And also confidence in interviews, because I think if you can get past the paper side, which is the resumes and application, the interview should be really easy for you to take it to the next level. So, what we'll start with is resume writing. So, just to give you a bit of background on my experience, I graduated from Griffith Uni back in 2008 with a Bachelor of Business, majoring in Human Resources and Industrial Relations. So, essentially, that's where my passion for employment came from, learning about employers and how they think, and learning about the legal side of it. And when you're putting together a resume, it's really, really important to be able to understand those elements and how they impact employers' choices for new employees. Also, I have 2 companies, so as you know, or you may know, Exceptional Tuition and Resumes, and Exceptional Training. So, Exceptional Tuition and Resumes does private academic tutoring with university students and high school students across all subjects, and professional resume writing and application writing for individuals in any industry. So whether you're going for an advertised position or you're applying for an unadvertised position, we can help you to create the documentation. Exceptional Training is the other company, and that's the one where we do seminars across Australia in basically anything to do with employment, starting a small business, and education. So that's a little bit about my background. So who here in this class feels pretty confident in resume writing? Anyone? Yeah, pretty good? What would you rate yourself out of 10, with 10 being highest?
Well, I don't know, I guess I'd probably shoot it like a 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, okay.
I've had to adapt my resume recently from a Canadian version to an Australian version, so I gained a lot of skills, I think, in that process.
Yep, the learning process. Yep. Because there's a certain way that a Canadian would write compared to an Australian, isn't it? And I suppose in Australia, we like resumes which are down to earth and direct, and basically tell you facts about it. So did you find that when you were learning?
Much more in depth, I think.
More in depth,
more material.
Yes, that's right. And we'll focus on your experience and how you yourself can be an asset to a company in particular. So with Australian resumes, honest and straight to the point, presenting facts about yourself. So it's important when you're writing a resume not to babble on about irrelevant things. Basically, when you're writing a resume, I would recommend that you actually have a couple of resumes for a couple of different industries, depending on what kind of job you're applying for. Because each kind of employer has a particular kind of employee they would like to get into their company. So you've got to write your resume so that it matches that particular industry or job role. Present your best assets. So I think it's important when you're writing a resume not to actually say the reason why you left a company, because that can be a little bit off-putting for an employer. What I would do is, when you're writing your employment history, you obviously put down the job role, the company, the year and the duties, but leave off the reason for leaving and save that till you get to the interview. So So for example, if you were made redundant, that's when you can mention it if you need to, or if you've gone back to study, something like that, okay? So that's a good tip. So try and keep your resume in a positive nature about you as much as you can. Make sure your resume is detailed, accurate, and visually appealing. So when I'm saying visually appealing, I'm not talking about making your resume all pretty and colourful and lots of pictures and borders, because that's not really relevant to a job, is it? It's more arty-farty. You want to get a resume which basically tells the story about you in your background, your education, your experience, and what you can bring as an actual employee to an organisation. And also tailor it to the role you're applying for. So in your resume, in the very first page, right at the top, you should have a section which says career profile and career objective. So I think those two paragraphs at the very beginning should be mentioning exactly in the career objective section, what is your goal in your career? What kind of job are you specifically looking to apply for? So are you going for a job in the nursing industry in a full-time capacity or a part-time capacity? Are you looking for a job which includes travelling, things like that? So be specific in what you actually want to achieve. Your career, yes?
Oh, sorry, just on that. If you're applying for like a part-time job just while we're at uni, do we still include that?
Yeah.
Because
if
if it's not relevant to what we're doing, we're just looking for a part-time job.
You should say maybe I would like to apply for a part-time job which complements
Okay,
my
I've got that in
university.
mind, but it's not like under a specific heading. I've just got it in mind.
Yeah, you do.
It's okay.
Yeah, because you want to actually tell them that yes, you have been educated, because that's a positive side. And it also gives the employer the ability to know that you need a little bit of flexibility as well. Because it's not a bad thing to work part-time while you're at uni, or full-time if you can do it, but yeah, be upfront and honest with employers, I think. The other section I was going to say is the career profile or career summary. And that section is basically about what your history of employment is at the time when you're applying. So, for example, if you've had 2 years within the retail and hospitality industry, mention that, because that gives the employer a quick indication of what your background is and then how it sort of relates to the job which you're applying for. So many people who are in university will work in those industries initially, and then they'll move into maybe something a bit more commercialised. So that should go in your career summary or career profile section. Okay, so that's really important to tailor those two sections towards the role you're applying for. Next section is contact details. So above your career objective section, you should definitely put your name right at the very top, big letters, make sure it stands out. Have your address, your phone number, and also a postal address if you have a different one to your residential, and also an email address as well, because I think it's important for employers to be able to contact you straight away and have your details right at the very beginning. Okay? So that's really important. And also with your email addresses, get rid of your MSN addresses, which you used to have as a kid, on MSN Messenger, because they're not relevant anymore. Change it to something which has your full name, okay? Something where they can, for example, if an employer receives your application and they do a quick search in their email box, they can look up the name and straight away your email will be linked to it. And it also looks professional as well. Okay, so that's contact details for you. The next element which I think is really important to consider is this aspect of discrimination. Now, does everyone understand what we mean when we're talking about discrimination? We mean putting yourself in a position where an employer is more likely to exclude you in some elements. So there's one part which I keep seeing all the time, is this visa status, or people saying that they're on a student visa. I would probably leave that off to start off with and wait till the interview comes, and then if they ask you, then mention it there. If you're an Australian citizen, that's okay, because employers like to employ someone who is an Australian citizen or a permanent resident because of the legalities. So that's okay if you include that, but just be careful with the student visa or working holiday visa, because it depends on the the discretion of the employers. Your age and birth date, so I would remove that straight away, because some employers don't like to hire young people. Some don't like to hire older people. So try to eliminate that element affecting your application. Marital status, so that's whether you are single or you're married. So good to leave it out because you don't want to attract employers who are kind of looking for the social side at the moment. You just want them to see you on a piece of paper based on merit more than anything. Okay. Gender, you don't really need to say that you're male or female because most names will indicate that you belong to a certain gender. Sexual orientation is whether you are homosexual or straight. So leave any of those kind of elements that could open you to potential discrimination. There was a survey which I saw a couple of years ago where they actually did a study on names, like how people's names appear on resume, and they identified in the study that if you have a name which is of an international background, you are less likely to be hired in a job. And they did this study on graduates in Australia. So what I suggest is for anyone who's from overseas to put maybe your English name as your resume name, and then your surname, well, you can't really change that, but just put an English name, then your surname, to try to eliminate barriers as much as you can, okay? So that's about discrimination. This is pretty standard in your university assignments. You're probably using the same sort of formatting. Is that right? Yeah. So keep it basic. Times New Roman or Arial is fine. I usually align resumes towards the left because it tends to look nicer and people read from the left as well. Using bold for headings. You could use bold or maybe use underline, but keep it consistent when you're actually formatting your resume because you want to make sure that the document you have is really easy to read and it doesn't have any major distractions. If you're going to use with your headings, you could use maybe two colours. So for example, the body of your resume being black and the headings being, I don't know, green or blue or some other colour just to make it stand out, okay? Because you want the employer to be able to look at your resume and say, yep, that's this section, that's that section. So keep it simple. Make sure you also space your resume out nicely. So I would, when you're doing the different sections, so for example, a career profile and your career objective, I would maybe do double spacing between the two sections so that the employer again can identify the differences. And avoid too many colours. So I would, as I said before, probably two colours would be enough for a resume. And definitely no photos because we want to eliminate any kind of judgment that comes out from some employers. Okay, so that's it. That's it on layout in general. Now, when we are doing a resume, it's important to also state your key skills and personal characteristics. So when we say key skills, we're talking about the skills which are relevant to you working in a job itself. So are you good in time management, for example? Are you highly organised? Are you proficient in different technical programs? So if you are, I think it's important to specify how technical. So if you're Microsoft Word, if you're intermediate or advanced, that's a good thing. Excel, you might be intermediate. PowerPoint, you could be advanced, things like that. Specify specifically what level because that will help an employer to decide what kind of role you may be suitable for in employment. Also use dot points too when you are using your skills area because you want your resume to be really easy to read rather than doing thick paragraphs. When we talk about personal characteristics, we're now talking about more the way that you work when you're on the actual work site. So for example, are you a team player or are you a natural leader? Things like that. So this is more the social orientation of how you engage with people and how you operate when you're not actually doing physical work within the environment, okay? Soft skills is also, again, how you relate to people personally. So, you know, are you a good communicator? Are you a good presenter? All those things. Are you compassionate? For some, you've got to suss out when you're applying for a job. Work out, what is the nature of the job you're applying for? What is the nature of the workplace? And tailor your resume so that your profile in these areas would match the ideal kind of employee, okay? So very, very important to think from the employer's perspective, what kind of person would they hire for the job? Okay. We mentioned before career objectives. So can anyone tell me what was career objective again? What was the purpose? Yeah?
What do you want to achieve in your career?
Yeah. So what is your ambition? Yep. So with career objective, obviously keep English simple. So I would refrain from using big words which you don't actually know the meaning of, because some employers could pick up on that and they'll think, right, you've ripped that out of an academic essay somewhere, trying to sound intelligent. So make your English nice and simple to understand. Short sentences, but keep your tone nice and formal, because you want to make sure that when you're writing a resume that you appear like you're very professional. And when they meet you, hopefully your representation on paper will match you as a person as well. Use correct spelling and grammar. Now, it's incredible how many people apply to work with me at my companies, but when I see grammar errors straight up and they're applying for a resume writing job, what do you think I do? Straight in the bin. Because this is a skill which is necessary to become a resume writer, is have very good English when it comes to writing someone else's application. So you've got to make sure you pay attention to that particular document. Keep it short too, this section, just a small little paragraph will be fine. And then make sure your career objectives match the job you're actually applying for too, okay? So, professional history. Now, this usually will come under the career objective or the career summary and profile section. So basically, this section is important because it gives the employer an indication of, what you're like as an employee. What is your general interest? So sometimes you may want to say in your resume that you have a passion for teaching, for example. So when they look for a job for you, or when you try to spook them for a job, they will be interested in what is your main sort of background and how can they utilise you for that skill. With a professional history, this is the setting out of the job title. So it doesn't matter like how many jobs you have, but I would say the less jobs you have, the better. Why do you think that would be valued? Yeah?
Because it means you stayed in the jobs longer, so it's not like you just work it for 3 weeks and then got fired and work somewhere else.
Yeah, you're not a job hopper. So if you have done it, which some of you may have done it before, like maybe I met a girl once who told me she was in a job for 1 day, but the fact is, just leave those kind of jobs out. I think that's irrelevant. Only put the ones which you've been in for a couple of months at least, you know what I mean, to show that you have some commitment. If you've been in a job for 5 years, that's great. That's really appealing because it shows you're loyal and you're committed to your profession and to your employers. And I think in today's economy, it's important to demonstrate that you are the whole package as an employee, because you have a lot to give, and that will be well received by employers, okay? So when you're setting out this section, go into job title, employer, dates and duties. So your duties, you would list them in dot points, and usually when we do duties, we like to put it in past tense. So for example, collaborated in group meetings, something like that. See how we have the ED as past tense to say that this kind of job was performed in the role. So that's basically the summary of your different history and jobs. With your employment, it's important to fill the gaps in. So, for example, if you decided to stop working for maybe 2 years and you decided to go and study, make sure your employer knows that in your resume, rather than them seeing that you worked in 1999 and then you worked in 2002. You know what I mean? Because that gap is very important to know. Did you do something with your life, or did you bludge the whole time? Something like that. So if you've got a good reason, make sure you fill it in so that employers are not guessing about your history. What else? Yeah, and it also shows honesty too. If you can keep your resume consistent and show that yes, you've been working consistently, that you haven't just wasted time? Yeah.
Can I ask, like my scenario is that I have been like out of work due to parental commitments.
Okay.
And I have had previous discrimination in the past before where they haven't wanted to hire me because they don't want a person with those sort of commitments, and they've actually told me that.
Yep.
So would I put that on my resume?
I'll
that
put that.
I've been out of work.
Because for having a child, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate reason. Because my feelings would be, why would you want to work for an employer who discriminates because you're a mother?
Yeah.
Do you mean they're not your employer of choice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely put down left work for maternity reasons. Yeah. I think. Would you girls agree with that too? If some of you would be thinking about having kids and you want an employer that is flexible and supports. So yeah, I'm definitely in that same category. That I would definitely look for employers who support women and family commitments, things like that, because it really shows that they value you more than as just an asset commodity. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely put it in. Any other questions on that area? Yeah.
Yeah, in doing the chronological of like my employment experience, for me, like I've worked for a company, and then I've gone back to school, and then I've gone back and worked for that company.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, like did a diploma and worked for that company for like a year and a half, and then went back to school to do my degree. So with the different periods of employment, I've tried a couple different styles. Right now, I've got it kind of all lumped into one, and then just broken out.
Yep. I would do chronological. So your very last or recent job at the very top, and then next would be return to study for whatever the period was, from 2010 to 2011, and then the next job underneath. So just to show sort of your movement as an individual, because education is a great reason not to work sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Because you know some people find that it's very hard to balance the two, so they focus just on academia. Obviously, their grades should be high if they're one of those sort of people. Yeah. When I was in uni, I worked full-time and I studied full-time, so I did the graveyard, I suppose. But you know, that's a different kind of skill. But I would definitely include the whole lot. You know, same row. Cool. Any other questions? No. Okay. Let's move on. So, with qualifications, it's important, I think, to list your highest qualification at the beginning. So, for most of you, would be bachelor's. Jess, you would be in honours. Yep. Anyone else doing honours or masters or PhD even? Yep. What are you doing? Masters. Yep. So that would look very good if you're applying for, say, a corporate job. Yeah. Because I think in general, most jobs, if you have at least a bachelor's degree, you're pretty safe to get in. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to someone who just has a certificate. So. But if you have a certificate as well or a diploma, list that as well, but make sure that's underneath your highest qualification. I think it's important to also list your high school education, because particularly if you completed year 12, because that indicates that you stayed the whole way. Yeah. But I mean, if you did come from a trade, so you left in year 10 and you went to a trade, then that's also acceptable too. So just make sure that your education complements your career ambition at the same time, okay? I think it's also important to put down short courses as well. If you've done some short course, which is 2-3 days, that's relevant to the job which you've done, or even if you've done a 1-day certificate in a particular area, for example, first aid, something like that, that's important because a lot of employers value those kind of certificates as well. So yeah, so make sure your education is put down, because the more educated you are, the more opportunities it tends to open up for you long term. Okay, so with referees, does everyone understand when we're talking about referees? It means we're finding people who will speak positively about you, personally and professionally. I've seen a lot of resumes where people will say references available upon request. I think when I see that, it kind of puts me off a little bit, because it makes me as an employer have to chase the employee to get information. So what I would do as a prospective employee is I would actually just give them the information, straight down. Give them the name of the person or people, give them the title of the referee, company, give them the email address, and give them a landline number if you can. I would try to avoid giving a mobile number if you can, because these days, anyone's got a mobile number, but a landline is usually more commercial because it tends to belong to a business environment. So keep those details. I would also probably put 2 or 3 references as a maximum, because I've seen some resumes where people will give me 6 references, and I think that's too many people to call. I don't really have that much time to waste. So keep my word of advice is to keep it easy for the employers so that they don't have to stress out chasing information about you. Okay? Yes, that's your read.
Just a question regarding those.
Yeah.
You know how you have your professional, your educational, your personal referees. Would you include personal ones or just focus mainly on the professional and education?
I'd put a personal one, because sometimes personal ones can give you a really good character reference. Yeah.
For a personal one, like when I was younger and applied for jobs, I put my mum down as a personal one.
Okay.
Like as you apply for more professional jobs, what kind of personal reference are you looking for?
I'd probably go for someone who's not in your family. Because
Like a friend?
Like a friend,
Okay.
yeah. A close family friend. Maybe, I don't know, if you go to church, maybe a pastor. Someone who you think would be respected on your resume. Because I think it's important, like you can have someone who you've worked for previously, so that would be a professional. There's someone else who knows you in a different capacity. So maybe you have, you've referred business to them, maybe something like that. Yeah, they can be personal. Yeah. But I think, definitely both is important, because, as I was saying before, you want to be the whole package for the employers rather than just someone who is strictly a workaholic and nothing else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, any other questions on referees? No? Okay. With resume length, now, how long is your resumes at the moment?
Just over 2.
2 pages? Yeah.
3 pages.
Yeah.
3.
Great, yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. For someone who's in the graduate position, anywhere from 2 to 3 would be plenty, because obviously employers will understand that, okay, if you're in university, more likely you are fairly young, so you would have had a couple of jobs, yeah. Sometimes I've seen resumes that come in from mature age workers who have been in many jobs, and their resumes are about 10 pages, which is a bit crazy. So what I do is I tell them straight up, I'm going to chop it in half. Because you've got to think from the employer's perspective, do they have the time to read 10 pages? Do they have the time, even if you had a 3-page resume, do they have the time to read a resume if you put all your text in size 8 and you've squished it in? Probably not. So make sure you keep things nice and simple for employers so that they want to spend that little bit of time reading your application. Okay?
Monique, I've got a question about formatting.
Yep.
I've heard that bullet points are really the only accepted kind of indicator of different points instead of, say, ticks or dashes. What's your feeling on that?
I totally agree with that. So with bullet points, so I'll just be like the little dots. That's good. Or hyphens.
Okay.
Keep it simple. Don't do stars, love, hearts, ticks, or anything like that, because it's a bit childish otherwise. So yeah. So keep it nice, clean cut, nice, sleek resumes. Yeah.
But in that respect, how do you make your resume stand out from everybody else?
It's just the quality of how it's written. So, for example, if you or how it looks. For example, I saw a resume just the other day. It was just tables, and just too much. Like it didn't make sense, and then if you do, for example, big long paragraphs, it looks like you're going on too long. So you keep your resume nice and clean cut. Yep, simple, but the content of what you're writing should be good, like quality. Because it's not quantity, it's always quality of you as a person. Does that answer your question? Yeah. And also to attention to detail, consistency of how you actually format your resume. So, for example, if you're using bullet points, which are circles, make sure the whole resume has just that. No mix of hyphens and things like that. So that's another thing too. Because some employers can be pedantic and they have an eye for detail. Yeah. Remove spelling errors as well. You've got to show that you're competent in writing. So that's resume length. So that's pretty much it for resume writing as such. Yep.
With the resume, As you said, how you have the career profile, the career objectives,
Yes.
and then you go into
So I would swap them around. So objective at the top,
objects at the
Yep.
top, and then
and then
profile.
career profile underneath. Yeah.
And then you have the history, qualification, referees. Where do you
Yep.
put your skills?
Your skills, you can slip it in probably, I'd say, between the career profile section. Yeah.
Okay. Between career objectives and career profile.
No, below that.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be like maybe the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, go. Yes?
What's your opinion on using like cover letter to cover some of those? So rather than having it like specific saying, just say, I would like to introduce myself as, this is what I've done, like just roughly,
I
and
would,
then,
when you do your key skills, I'll just do it in dot points. Yep, so keep it really simple. Employers can see the key words, which make them think, okay, she's got high time management skills or works well at deadlines. In your cover letter, you should then expand on those and give, for example, an example of how you've done that.
so cover letter not even first is what you're saying?
Yeah, no, so you have a cover letter. So
Yes.
anytime you send out your resume, make sure you have a cover letter, regardless of what job it is. Whether you're going for a McDonald's job as a ice cream server or something like that, as opposed to a graduate position, make sure cover letter's on there. Yeah. And your resume should complement your cover letter as well. So it should be tailored towards the resume as well.
Yes.
So that both specifically go for the role or the industry you're going for.
Okay, because I've got like, you know, your title page kind of thing, like a cover letter, and then I go into, you know, things like the objectives, what my skills are, and previous employment history. Is that
Yeah, that's
the right
right.
place to
Yeah,
put it?
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would break down the skills sections, maybe into IT skills, administration skills, people skills, something like that, so that they can map out and say, okay, you're actually multifaceted. Yeah.
Because I was just wondering, because like for mine,
Mhm.
I don't explicitly say, you know, I've got good time management, but I used to be in the army, so like things like that would say,
Discipline.
reading that, you would already assume that. So
Yeah.
like I didn't feel that it was necessary to go back into it, but are you saying should I then put the point saying I've done this?
Yeah, I
good
would.
at this, good at that?
Yeah, but because you had in your army, so you mentioned that in your were you working for the army? Yeah. So that would be in your employment history section.
Yeah.
And then in your cover letter, you would say what you did in the army.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I've
and what
already
is
done that.
done.
I was just wondering if like I should also then put it dot points in like
In your resume, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, I think so. So, for example, disciplined and able to follow direction.
yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was like already kind of like listed or explicitly like
I'd
if I
mention
should say it again.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Because then you can see the two always linked together.
Okay.
Yeah, and they complement each other. Yeah. Any other questions? Yep.
I have a question about the cover letters.
Yes.
I find that I have to rewrite the cover letter every time for each job.
Yep.
Is that what you're supposed to do,
I
or
would
should
do
you? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because you want to show that your cover letter has been thoughtful and that you're actually going for individual employers rather than doing mass applications. Yes, and I think that's good because your cover letter is what's also going to make you stand out because you are telling them specifically what you want to do and what you will offer them as an employer. Yeah. By the way, everyone, this is Gabby, who is my intern at Exceptional Tuition and Resumes. So Gabby's coming to all the events which I do at the moment and doing PR and journalism. Yeah. So yeah, it's very nice to have you on board. Did you have a question?
I was going to say, what's the length of the cover letter? Would you say?
1 page.
1 page.
Yep. Keep it short and sweet because, as I was saying before, employers don't have much time to read. Yeah. If you're applying for government positions, sometimes they will ask for a 2-page or 3-page statement addressing selection criteria. So commonly you would have to submit that particular statement plus a cover letter plus your resume. So it's a bit of time investment there, but obviously the harder you work on your documents and the more thoughtful you are, the greater chance you're going to have at getting employment. So, yeah. Any other questions? No, everyone's good? Okay. Let's move on. So let's talk about job searching strategies. I found this picture quite entertaining. It's got a guy and it says, job wanted, history, graduate, interview me. And then this one's funny, prepare to work for first month free, then hire or fire me. Now what does that tell you about this individual? Yep.
But he's already been looking for heaps of jobs and obviously finding it hard, so he's prepared to go to that kind of measure.
Yeah.
Like, he's It could also be that he's kind of down to earth and realises that, you know, like,
It's got to connect.
yeah,
Yeah.
that it might be hard to find jobs and this way it gets some attention, but he's willing to work for